Oh boy, I can't wait to see how YouTube responds to this one. Is this an excuse to talk about my all-time favorite series, Saga? This sounds like an excuse to talk about my all-time favorite series, Saga. For those unaware, Saga is an ongoing, insanely popular indie comic series from Image Comics written by Brian K. Vaughan, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, with art by Fiona Staples. Saga combines sci-fi and fantasy, as it follows our two main characters, Elena and Marco, who are star-crossed lovers who find each other as their two races fight a seemingly never-ending war. Elena is a native of the planet Landfall, who rely largely on technology, with all members of her species born with wings. Marco is a native of Landfall's nearby moon, Wreath, the members of which are born with horns and are capable of using magic. The two meet while Elena was serving the Landfallian military as a prison guard, where Marco is being held. And not only do they fall in love and escape, but also subsequently get married and conceive a hybrid child they name Hazel. And it's at the birth of this child where our story actually begins. Literally, the book opens with her being born. And our new parents have to find a way to raise Hazel in a universe actively hunting them down. Along the way, they meet an increasingly unique set of supporting characters such as Isabel, the teenage ghost, Prince Robot IV, Lion Cat, and my personal favorite, Goose, the bipedal seal. Like, seriously, he's the only comic character I own a plushie of. I could write a whole editorial about Goose alone. In fact, I might. Put a pin in that thought. Anyway, I'm not going to spend the bulk of this video explaining the plot and the world of Saga to you. It's something you really need to experience on your own, and if you haven't, you owe it to yourself to do so as soon as possible. What I do want to talk about is how Brian Vaughan explores relationships. Now, the notion of doing a story about lovers from rival factions is nothing new. We've seen it for centuries, with Romeo and Juliet being one of the most easily recognizable examples of this archetype. There's something very unique in just how Vaughan portrays that relationship with Lena and Marco. And it has a lot to do with just how strongly he establishes their connection, not through complex confessions of love and adoration, but through their unconventional comfortableness. See, writing realistic romance and a realistic couple in a way that's interesting is no easy task. Most relationships and most real romances aren't gigantic, passionate affairs with sweeping gestures and life-or-death professions of love. Or at least not the kind that Hollywood and a lot of trashy novels will have you believe.
You complete me.
Shut up. Just shut up.
Real relationships work largely off how well partners understand each other and how much they're willing to share and learn about one another on a consistent basis, as well as learn how to balance each other's strengths, weaknesses, and regularly practice compromise. While it makes for a healthy relationship, it doesn't always necessarily make for an interesting story.
Actually, I like to think that this is how you find friends that care about you as a person and not just the way that you smell.
But Brian Vaughan has managed to craft the relationship between Elena and Marco in such a way that not only implies an already vast shared history between the two, but also the comfort level that allows them to talk in a way that shows a romantic connection. They often engage in witty banter, they frequently call each other out on their shortcomings, they make crude comments, they share secrets, and they still find new things to learn about each other. They share dreams, passions, hopes, fears, all conversations that real couples have, and in such a way that it feels organic to the situation without distracting from what's going on. They feel like real people in a real marriage, even with their sci-fi fantasy trappings. But it's not just these two characters that feel real, all the characters do, each one with their own relationships to explore. Which includes the real topic of today's editorial, their sexuality and intimacy.